guys, my name is Kimberley. For those who don't know me, I've been working in HR for the past 10 years and I've been owning my own consulting firm for the past 2 years now, which is great. The questions, the question that keeps coming up is why HR? Why is it your passion? Why did you decide to make a living out of it? And it's pretty simple. I've always wanted to help people. When I came out of high school, I went to study social work, decided that it wasn't for me, and I wanted to go in HR. So my main mission, what I've created my whole business, what it's all about, is about employee retention. So basically, how to create an environment that makes employees super happy and employers really happy, because happy employees are performance employees. And yes, so if you have happy employees, then their family is happy. So their kids are happy, their wives are happy, and their wives are happy at work, which means that their colleagues are happy, which, gets the whole ripple effect thingy. So that was my way of bringing a little bit of joy into society. So that's what I wanted to do with my life. So how to create better work environments where people are actually happy to get to work, and they work on projects that fulfill them. So if that resonates with you, well, I'm gonna be that basic Instagram, YouTube person, and then just say, if you like it, then subscribe. There's gonna be a lot more videos like this. And of course, if you know anyone that has a business, and you think might benefit in any way, shape, or form from my teachings or my videos or whatever, then feel free to send him the love, send him a video, send him. So let's begin. Today we're going to be talking about ageism, racism, and sexism in the workplace. I could have made a whole video about each individually, which I'm probably going to do at one point. I kind of want to do interviews and, maybe about each and every one of them individually. But right now, we're just going to, do a global video that might be a little longer than I'm anticipating, but who cares? It's going to be amazing. So without further more information, let's start. So it's Pride Week here in Montreal. And we've been hearing a lot of talk about acceptance and, diversity and, all these great concepts. Sorry, English is not my first language. But yes, we've been talking about a lot. But yes, we've been talking about diversity and acceptance a lot here in Montreal last week, which is great. Seriously, it's amazing. But I wanted to see how much of this talk was translated properly into workplaces, which is something that has always kind of bothered me, because we're super acceptant for like a week, and then when it comes back to work, then it's all not the same. And we do a lot of these things without even realizing it. And that's what I'm here for today. Maybe you'll have someone, maybe it'll help no one, but hopefully I'll get to touch some of you guys. And most of it is just a question of education. So if we change this and decide to educate people, maybe they will change their behavior, or their speech will actually match that exact behavior. So we're going to start with ageism in the workplace. For me, as a recruiter, somehow this is a more taboo one, because we act like it doesn't exist. But on the contrary, ageism is super present in recruitment. We're kind of told, but not really told, to discriminate against older people or older generations, for the simple reason that we think somehow that employees will stay longer if they're younger, which is not really the case, especially for the fact that younger generations are, in average, only 3 years at the same job. So they do a lot of job hopping to get promoted, and that's how they get ahead, So the average is 3 years in the same workplace, which also means that we discriminate people that are 60 or 55, which have 10 years or 5 years left in the workplace, which is a lot more than a national average. For what? Because we think we're going to lose the training that we've given them? How does that make any sense? Please, someone answer me. How does that make any sense? It doesn't. Like, and that's not to say that I don't understand some really, really physical jobs that require some physical ability that may be at a certain age, you're maybe not quite there anymore and you can't do. But that's not everyone. There's some 65-year-olds that are so much more in shape than I am. And it's always, if the person is qualified to do the job, then you should not discriminate for age. Discriminate for age. Another reason people tend to not hire people that are a little bit older is that we tend to think that they're not going to be tech savvy, which is not that true anymore. Like, you don't have to spend that much time. Like, they've been working for the past 20 years, and we've been having computers for the past 20 years or a lot more, I think. Anyways, but in the workplace, like casually, I think it's about the last 20 years. They might not be as aware of like social media platforms, or because they're not using it as much, but that doesn't mean they don't have the capacity to learn it. And we're treating them as if it would be too much effort to explain what is Instagram. I mean, Instagram is easy. It's just pictures, hashtags, booties, Instagram. Another reason we tend to discriminate older generation is based on their salary, their earnings. So we're afraid when we're recruiting them that we'll have to pay them a lot more than someone who's young, which can be true. Like, if someone is super senior and he has a shit ton of experience, then, maybe you're going to be paying a little bit more. But you're also paying for that knowledge that you're bringing into your company, that you're going to be, mentoring people with, that the learning curve is going to be a lot shorter. So maybe that money is very, very well spent. Like, how much would you be paying in the training in a year to get all this knowledge? Is it worth a few $1,000s more? There's really usually not that big of a difference. That's really worth evaluating. Like, what are the skills that this person is bringing that you would otherwise have to hire someone external, or have to spend time on this new person that doesn't know what he's doing? Like, sometimes a small cost analysis would be worth it. For older generations, sometimes their mortgage has been paid for years, their cars also. So salary is always negotiable. Like, don't think because the person is older that he's necessarily going to say no to what you have to offer. Startups and everything always, not always, I'm generalizing here, but, I do know a couple of startups that tend to not even pass these people in interviews because they think they're not going to be able to afford them. But everything is negotiable. If you have this great culture and this, these great opportunities and these great projects, then why, and this great mission, then why would people not want to work with you? And maybe, just negotiate the salary. Say, like, this is how much I can afford to pay you right now. And, would you be okay with this? Maybe our partage au profit or something. There's always room to see what you can do, but don't ever like not meet someone because you're not even asking. Like, that could be like the best thing you've ever done and you've just said no. You've decided that he's going to say no for you. That doesn't make any sense. One of the things that's keeping people from hiring older generations is the schedule flexibility. So there's two things that I have to say about this, since, you know, I'm trying to make it a short video, but, you know, hopefully it's going to be one. But two things. So first thing to keep in mind is that, yes, these employees that you have in your business are close to retirement. You know, close-ish. If they ask for part-time, then, you know, even if they don't ask, that's something. First, you should have a retirement policy or anything surrounding this. But then also, part-time should be available and should be encouraged. So there's two ways that you can go about this, because retirement is kind of hard. Didn't you notice that people, once they get into retirement, either they completely love it and they just go on vacations all the time, or they can't stand their wife, or they go back to work as a consultant or whatever just a few years after because they can't stand being alone doing nothing. It's too much of a, it's all or nothing. It doesn't work. So part-time, to make people experience the retirement life. So let's say 4 days a week once you hit 60, and then, you know, 3 days, 2 days, blah, blah, blah. And that's something you can negotiate with the person depending on how comfortable, but that's an option that should be available. And, you know, yes, you do need those people to work for you, but you could also get 2 people to do the job and do job sharing. So 2 people part-time doing the same job, which is 2 resources. Doesn't really cost a lot more, and it's a lot more flexible. Of course, it needs a bit of, you know, organization and communication, but they could share a position and put their best skills at work while preparing for retirement. So that's something you should probably talk to your employees about. See what they think about it, put an actual policy in place. You know, I'm not saying push them out, but I'm just saying, like, the everything and nothing is really, really hard for a lot of people. So that could be a solution to really make people want to stay longer in the workplace. So the next thing is that you have to keep in mind that the people between, I'd say 45, I'm stretching it a bit, but 45 to 65 is, you know, called the sandwich generation. So basically they still have kids, which are not out of the house yet, and they still, you know, have parents that, you know, might go in and out of hospitals and everything. So they're stuck between every obligation, from their, you know, kids' graduation, or, you know, doctor's appointments, their parents' doctor's appointments, and, you know, taking care of them, which puts a lot of external stress combined with the actual stress of the job. So what we want to do is give them the opportunity to work while not having to stress about all these other things that are actually really stressful. You know, if your kid is sick, if a parent is sick, if you have to put them in a home or whatever, it's all super, super stressful. So schedule flexibility, you know, whether it is part-time or they can take their Monday afternoon off to go to the game, and then just, you know, work when they can to make up for these hours, or just work from home or whatever. But however you can make it work for them, because whenever you make things work for them, usually people tend to make things work for you. You know, they will prioritize whatever project is important, or whatever is important for you. They will prioritize it and put their 200% into it, because you've allowed them to take care of the stress at home. You don't want stress at work. You don't want stress at home. You want to take care of it all. That's a good employer. So How do we integrate older generations into the workplace? Well, first of all, there's mentorship, which I am crazy about. So you do have all these skills. You do have all this knowledge, and you're not doing anything with it. That's for most companies. They do have these people that have been there for 20 years, 10 years, 30 years. They're not doing anything about it. Why not? Like, you have all the answers you're looking for, and people are not sharing them because they think you're not interested. So take these people, get that knowledge, and share them and make your company grow. So yeah, and I was pretty clear about the part-time options. So I'm not saying it has to be part-time, but schedule flexibility for doctor appointments or whatever. It's not the same culture as it was 20 years ago. You cannot expect people to be in this very, very rigid environment. It doesn't work like this anymore. So if you want to get ahead of that labor shortage, then you gotta take the steps that are necessary to be the best employer that you can be whenever it's possible. As any good employer could tell you, the more your employees feel valued or appreciated, no matter their race, gender, or age, then or anything else, the more they'll feel like they'll belong, and the more you'll see the productivity go up. That's what we want. You want the numbers, you want the profits, you want the money. They want to feel valued, and they want to feel like they belonged. I'm not saying money is not a factor. Like, money is a small factor, and we all got bills to pay. But for an employee, that's not the priority. The priority is, feeling like you belong and feeling like you're respected and valued. And that's how you get your productivity to go up. I'm sorry, but for all the people that say that you have to focus on sales and your clients and blah, 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 and, there's all these ways of making money. Yes, and you can optimize, with robots or whatever, however you want. But the basic part of it is how to treat employees like humans, how to make them feel like they belong and make them want to work for you. That's the freaking basics. You want great customer service? Then treat your employees right. They'll treat your clients right. Easy peasy. So now let's skip to sexism. I can tell you, and you can probably tell that this is the one that I've experienced the most since, white, youngish female. So yeah, I'm only going to be talking today about the two most traditional genders, so male and female, just since it's what I'm most knowledgeable in. Not that I have anything against other genders, or it's all really too new for big studies, and I don't know that much. Like, my knowledge is not that deep about it yet. But if you guys know anyone that would like to share on the subject with me, or any books that I should read, or anything related to different genders in the workplace, then that would be greatly appreciated. Please just put it in the comments down below. I would actually love to interview someone that has a non-traditional gender, and to see their reality in the workplace, like how different, how much they get discrimination. So yeah, hit me up. So as a recruiter, or any recruiter has been a little bit guilty of this, we do these things without even realizing it. So basically, we're gonna hire someone for a physical job or construction job, then we're mostly gonna tend to look at men's CVs a lot before we're gonna look at women's. And it's it's a bias. Same thing for secretaries. We're not even consciously, but unconsciously, we're gonna think that the other person is more competent, and that's not true. It depends on the person. It's a bias that we've been taught since childhood, you know? Remember how boys, you know, were giving like tools and GI Joes and Tonkas and cars and, you know, all these things that are manly, you know? Oh, and you could go hunting with your dad and fishing and, you know, playing baseball and getting dirty and all that stuff, you know? As girls, we're educated to be like perfect and for jobs that are mostly like taking care of people. So either cooking or nursing or teaching or administration work. So anything that actually takes care of someone. And we've decided as a society that it's because that we're naturally good at it. So how do we deconstruct this? Well, at first we could look at job postings. Did you know that job posting was more likely to speak to men than women? Yep. And why is that? Well, that's quite simple. So boys or men, whatever, only need to feel only need to feel 50% qualified to apply for a position, as women need about 90%. That's a huge difference. And why is that? Well, that comes back to childhood, where girls were thought to be perfect and guys were told that they could run around, fall, and then just get back up and not cry. Seriously, never cry. But he could do anything, and it didn't matter if he fell, as girls always had to look pretty and smile and, you know, draw and be perfect and be cute and be like this little doll. So that's where that comes from. They need to be perfect to feel qualified. 90% is a lot, which makes men a lot tougher to rejection than women. And also, women a lot less likely to get promoted. And now I know I'm generalizing, and it's not every woman and it's not every man, but you know, I'm just, you know, you get the picture. So basically, the reason why women don't get promoted as much is that they don't ask as much. They wait for someone to notice the great job that they're doing. They're waiting for someone to value their work, to pull them aside and promote them. They wait for the perfect moment to ask, which is basically like never. Everyone's always busy. Like there's no great time to say like, hey, we don't have any work to do right now. Then how about that raise? You know, it doesn't happen. If there's nothing to do right now, then there's a problem with your business. There's always something to do. So how do we adapt? So first thing is that we can change the way that we do job postings and make them a little bit more gender fluid, I guess. And one of the things that I really promote when it comes to job posting is to be a lot more flexible and to really look into like what's a want and what's a need. If it's just a want and you're putting it as a need, then you're going to discourage most women, sadly enough. Like if you don't need this doctorate degree or whatever. But importe. If you don't need this degree to do the job or you don't need these special skills and they can be learned, then why? Why put it on? Or why putting on as required? It doesn't make any sense. And do not forget to put the soft skills on there. You want to hire for soft skills and train for other skills. Yeah. So this next little piece is going to be a little touchy-feely for some people, but you know, I'm trying to be as transparent as I can be in these videos. So if you don't like it, you don't like it, you know, switch channels. I don't really care. So I've often felt as a youngish woman that people weren't taking me seriously, especially men. And especially because I'm bubbly and weird and everything, you know, or that they just wanted to, you know, sleep with me or whatever. And that's why they were speaking with me. And I think the best way that I've learned over the years to deal with this issue in the workplace is to give them a reason to take me seriously. And I do know, and I can hear all the little ladies screaming in my ears, because that's the kind of thing that I would actually say, that if I was a man, then I would have to prove myself, that I wouldn't have to prove myself to be taken seriously. Like, I wouldn't have to make that effort. And I know that. But society is evolving and it's getting a lot better. Or I'm getting older. Meh, I don't know. But I know it's infuriating to feel like you have to work so much more to be listened to and to be valued. And hopefully this could change in the next few years, and with education, and it has come such a long way in the last decades. It's night and day, but we don't see it because we're in our day to day, and it's easy. It's super easy to look at a reality right now and complain, but what if we were born 100 years ago? We wouldn't even be working, and I know that's not good, but you can't make a radical change in 2 days. Society has to progress, and it's an everyday job. And you watching, as an employer, can be part of that change. But this is a decision. You cannot treat gender gap as some kind of side project or something that you'll get to whenever you get the time to. Nope, that's not how it works. Because if it's not a priority and it's not in your values, then it's not going to happen. It's just something that you're going to say, and that's going to be fake, and people are going to feel that it's fake. So if that's something that's super important to you, because you have a mother and a sister and all these people and a wife maybe, or you're a woman in business, then you want to close that gender gap, and you got to make time for that. You got to prioritize it. You got to revisitate your process and see where you're lacking. Where are you discriminating without knowing it? So yeah, not a side project, but if you decide to take it seriously, then there's a lot of resources out there that can really, really help you. And I think the first step is really getting educated without blaming, without anything. Knowledge is the basic of everything. So once you know about it, then you can go a long way. You can never unknow it, right? So there's also some culture difference in the world that creates gender inequity. I've kind of had the displeasure of seeing a candidate a while back pushing one of my recruiters aside to enter through a door for that interview, because in his culture, it was disrespectful for the women to go first. Here it's disrespectful to push someone, but but that is something that you have to be aware of as an employer. Like, is there some cultural gaps that prevents gender equity? And what can you do about it as an employer? So there's still a huge gender gap in the workplace, a lot better than it was a couple of years ago, but it's still pretty big. And there's a lot of activists that are working so hard to make it, equal. Part of the existing gap right now is that women tend to have more precarious jobs like customer service, where men get more technical or physical jobs that pay a little bit more for their skills. If you think about a restaurant or a clothing store that what is the first image that pops into your mind of the person that is serving you? Usually it's going to be a girl. And as a woman gets older, then that gap usually widens, for the simple reason that women are not raised to negotiate as good as men for raises. I've just read this article about the tech industry and how girls or women have these beliefs that they should not be asking for a raise. And that's how it is in the tech industry. Like, the fact that you're a girl and you have a job is good enough. So don't go asking for a raise. Basically, that's what they think. And as a good employer, what you want to be, it's your responsibility to create this environment where everyone is judged and um, is evaluated on the same criteria. So objective criteria, logical, not emotional, not because someone negotiated better. You want to say, like, these are the objectives, this is what you've done, then this is what the percentage is. Like, there's a lot of mathematical way to calculate this, and they should be given every year or every 6 months, depending. But yeah, and I know there's still a huge salary gap between professionals doing the exact same job. It's unbelievable that we're almost in 2020 and we're still there. I've had the pleasure to hire IT interns a few years back, and they've been having like really internships, internships, just because of the perception that women are going to be less competent and less knowledgeable in anything that is, computers and technical stuff. There's still that mentality. So the fact that they keep having not good internships, which are not raising their skills or their knowledge or anything, makes them less employable, which makes the stereotype continue, which is a circle. And how do we break that? We'll hire them and teach them, hire for personality. So I could talk about sexism in the workplace for hours, clearly. So I'm gonna keep it for another time and go to racism. So as you can see, I probably haven't been touched a lot by this one, or been discriminated against for the color of my skin, but I've seen it over and over and over again in workplaces, especially the ones that don't need a lot of education. And actually, no, both. It's just different kind of racism. Like, one is more subtle, and the other one's like right there in your face. I've heard horror stories. So basically, lately I've been recruiting for this company, and I've been meeting a lot of new immigrants that have just arrived in Montreal, like less than 2 years ago. And this story that they've told me has been coming back time after time. Like, there's this agency in Montreal, which I'm not going to name, because, I don't want to get a lawsuit. But there's this agency in Montreal that's been recruiting a lot of new immigrants. And unfortunately, these new immigrants are not necessarily aware of all the labor laws that are in Canada. So unfortunately, this agency has been making them work ridiculous 18 or 16-hour shifts, which don't make any sense here. It's completely illegal. Doing ridiculous work like shoveling rocks for 10 hours. How does that make any sense? Not legal. It's just insane conditions, like freezers that are minus 30s and they don't have coats, or outside at 50 degrees, and just no breaks, no nothing, until they physically can take it no more. So they usually last like a couple of days, a couple of weeks max, and then they get fired, and they pay them like peanuts, like under the minimum salary or whatever, but they're not aware of it. And they're taking advantage of human beings, which are here because they want a better life. Like, if you live in Canada or US, then you're privileged. You won the lottery. Like you live somewhere in the world where people, a lot of people want to live, and you were just born. Like, you didn't get a choice. They didn't get a choice. It's, they're escaping very, very bad conditions. What if you were born in IT or Somalia or whatever? Like, how would you want people to behave when you're looking for a job in your new country? Why would you treat them like shit? They're humans like you and me. And I've heard the argument like over and over and over again that people are going to come here, immigrants are going to come here and steal your jobs. Doesn't Trump say that? Like, Mexicans are going to steal your jobs. That doesn't make any sense. There's an employee shortage. We can't find enough employees to do all the work that needs to be done. And usually it's for jobs that are kind of shitty, like, and they're not paying a lot. You don't even want these jobs. Like, it's so hard recruiting right now. And and general population is being super racist. And, politics are making it okay, apparently, to be a racist right now. And anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But how would you want people to behave? Basically, how would you want people to behave if you were that person from the other country that just had the bad luck of being born somewhere different, and you wanted a better life for your family and your future generations? Like, how would you want to be treated? That's the only question you should ask yourself. If you're doing headhunting or you're simply recruiting or whatever, there's this Chrome app which I can't remember the name right now, but I'll put the link in the description. You should definitely use it, especially if you use LinkedIn. It blurs out the name of the person and the picture. Therefore, you can't have this natural bias. I think it blurs locations also, but you cannot have this natural bias, which everybody has at least a little bit. Even if you say you don't, like, it's natural to have this. So there's this little app that blurs, like on CVs, and like whenever you're on LinkedIn, it blurs a name. So that way you're influenced by the skills and the knowledge and the education that this person has, and not the color of their skins or their name or even the gender. Like, that works for gender also. So I'll put the link in the description, but that's really, really worth taking a look at. So this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what you liked, what you would want me to eventually talk about. Like, I'm gonna try to make these videos as frequently as possible. So if you want any tricks on HR efficiency, anything that I can help you with, just write it down below. I'll try to cover it. It will be my pleasure. And if you have anyone that's in business that you think would appreciate seeing this, then feel free to share my videos. Share the love. Share the love. And remember, I'm all about efficiency and productivity. So whenever you humanize your processes and the way you're doing things, and you humanize your business, then you make more money. So if that's the only incentive that you get out of this is treat people right, you'll make more money. See you guys.